Hey, beautiful Aloha tribe. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to this amazing chat with my friend Scott Evans today. It's been a while since I've had him back on the channel. So I'm just going to unmute him. There we go. There we go. Welcome back, Scott. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. We were just laughing a few minutes ago about how the last show we did was 2022.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, a lot has happened in the past 2 years.
Yeah, a lot has happened. So just to let you all know, because it has been a while, Scott Evans is currently in Arizona, residing in Arizona. His sound healing business is called Soul Song Healing Vibrations. And if after this chat you want to get a hold of Scott at all, I'll have all his information below in the description box. He's currently on Facebook and Instagram. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of cool things today. So yeah, so the reason Scott and I haven't done another talk is both of our lives just paralleled into other realities, but I'm super glad to have you back today.
Yeah, so excited to be here. Another thing I was laughing about is how we talked about doing this show a week and a half ago, and then right after that is when the sun went crazy, and so the timing on that it couldn't be more perfect.
More perfect. That's right. So we're just going to share a little bit about Scott's healing business first. And we have a couple things that he works with horses and does all sorts of really cool sound baths, etc. But the main portion of the program is Scott has been following solar activity since 2017, which is like just perfect timing. When I reached out to him, I had no idea that he had been following that information. So we're going to talk about all the solar flares and the X flares and get his perspective on it. And then at the end, we'll talk a little bit about UFOs. So yeah, so I thought why don't you just share a little bit about your Soul Song Healing Vibrations business and how that's going.
Yeah, my name is Scott Evans, and I've been a certified sound healing practitioner since 2019, and started doing public sound baths. I made my debut on Halloween night of 2020. Quite a way to come in, and yeah, so I've been doing sound baths for coming up on 3.5, 4 years now, and I was guided to do my sound baths a little bit differently. They're very, very high frequency, and that does tie into the solar activity that we'll get into. So my sound baths are very high frequency, very celestial and ethereal. I was guided to do them that way because once you start getting up into the high frequencies, those high frequencies are what can really get into the little nooks and crannies. And there are some traumas in density that we carry that a lot of us, we're not even consciously aware of, right? So once you start getting into those high frequencies, they can really shake loose a lot of the densities and traumas, and that's what really can propel the healing that we need at this time in this timeline.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's I think all of us. I can't speak for you, but I got on my journey to offer quantum healing and chakra balances because I worked on myself and I went to other healers ahead of time. And you made it succinctly. We have these locked in traumas in our cells and our organs and our chakras, and they can be from this lifetime, from other lifetimes. But I want to share with you. Some of the people that I so enjoyed that I went for healings with did sound baths. Like before they were even called that. It was so cool, so I love that that's what you were guided and called to do.
Yeah, and I've done all kinds of interesting things. Of course, I do the typical private and public sound baths. I've played my sound bowls in vegan restaurants, coffee shops, and I love doing those kinds of things because you get people sort of walking by like, what's going on? But you can really expose some of those types of people to sound healing, and my goal is to really get sound healing out there right with yoga. You've got a yoga studio on every corner now, and I really sound healing is coming up right behind yoga, and I really want to just sort of get it in the mainstream so more people are aware of it.
Yeah, and I think more and more souls are aware of like the sound frequencies, even with listening to the different frequency hertz. On YouTube, how do you pronounce it? The Solfeggio frequencies, if that's the official name.
So yeah.
So where you're in Arizona, where are you? What city are you connected to?
Um, my address is Tempe, Arizona. I'm right on the border of Tempe and Mesa, Arizona. Mesa is probably the biggest suburb in the United States. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm in the Tempe area. Not far. I'm right down the street from Arizona State University.
Okay, cool. All right. So Scott and I were talking a bit earlier. He is planning on a healing center. So why don't you share a little bit more about that, about what your dream and your vision is, like taking soul song healing vibrations forward.
Yeah. So I had a vision that came to me right around the same time that I got certified as a sound healing practitioner, and that I was going to start a healing center. In fact, I came into awareness just recently. I literally have a soul contract to start a healing center, but it's not going to be your typical brick and mortar like studio. It literally is going to be a ranch.
I love that.
Okay, and it kind of like a horse ranch. And so my two main passions have always been music and animals. And so my healing center will be more of a ranch where I have, of course, I'll have a building there where we can go in and do the sound baths, but I'm going to have horses. Horses are going to be, and we'll get into that. Horses are going to be a big part of my healing center. And I'll have other animals as well. And as you know, and I don't know if a lot of people know, hope it's okay to say, you're an animal communicator. I know you don't talk about that too much.
I don't, because the two-legged animals took over my
No.
practice. But yeah, I do offer animal communication. Yeah. Yeah. So that's
Yeah. So I
amazing.
know that you know, but what I'm trying to get the word out is that our animal companions, our four-legged companions, they are doing a lot of work behind the scenes
They are.
to sort of move this planet into a higher frequency. There's sort of this notion that we're somehow, humans are more advanced than the animal kingdom. I definitely don't know that that's the case. Most animals carry extremely high vibrational frequencies. They're
Yeah.
doing healing work on themselves, on others, on the planet. They are
Right.
very, very advanced, and animals will be a huge part of my healing center.
That's amazing. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I just wanted to share, like, Scott and I actually have this. I can't even remember how we got connected, but Scott has a few cats. I think you have 3. And I have a new cat that came to me through the lockdown. So we've had many conversations about our kitties. And I definitely know my cat he's on high alert. He's clearing the energy in my apartment. He's making sure that I'm okay. And then I think that that's why they sleep a lot, because they're doing so much work and then they just need to go and repair themselves.
I'm
Yeah.
laughing because right now my main healer is literally sleeping 2 feet off to the side. You can't see him.
Aw.
He's a black cat. Of course, there's always this thing that was been put out: black cats are bad luck. It's actually
No.
quite the opposite.
Yeah.
They're some of the most powerful healers in the animal kingdom, and he recently, how you call it making biscuits, which cats do. What most people don't realize is when cats are making biscuits with their claws, they're doing healing work. And he alerted me to a health issue that I had that I
Wow.
did not know. He kept making biscuits on the same area of my body, and
Wow.
a few weeks later, I figured out he was literally trying to heal me. And then I went from there and figured out that I had a health issue that I needed to resolve.
That's amazing. I love that. So, yeah, and I think we were speaking earlier, like you're also looking at becoming, potentially an animal communicator. I see that, like I see with you having a ranch and the sound baths and the horses. And horses to me always resonate as part of the unicorn regime as well. So I don't know if you feel that as well, but
Totally. Horses, man, they are special. And actually, the events that I've been focusing on here recently, I teamed up with someone who specifically she does equine therapy. So she'll do the meditation and sort of, take everything, watch over the horses, and I do the sound bath. So we do this outdoors, and we've got 2 horses that are sort of we let them sort of roam wherever they know where they need to go, and they're grounding, and they know who needs to be healed, and they'll walk up to the person sitting in the chair and do the healing work while I'm doing the sound bath. And let me tell you, those are special events. look, I love going in the yoga studio and doing a sound bath. That's great. But when you get outdoors and you add horses to what I'm doing, it really is a next level type of thing.
That's amazing. And don't you have an event coming up?
Yeah. So this Saturday is going to be, I would say, probably our last event. Anyone who lives here in Phoenix, Arizona knows that it's starting to get a little bit hot out here, right?
Yeah.
We're going to hit 100 degrees here in a few days. But this event will be this Saturday night. We do it at night.
Okay.
And it's probably going to be our last one. We'll be taking a break for the summer, but I'll pick up again in the fall.
Okay.
And I know I'm not supposed to have favorites, but I would say my favorite event that I do is the sound bath meditation with horses. They're just really special events.
Well, that's amazing. So if anyone's in Scott's area and you want more information about this event, reach out to him by his social media. And yeah, and then absolutely, I totally understand about taking a break through all the heat for sure. But I love that. I see, so you have this vision of a healing center in a ranch with animals. And I love how the universe has coordinated you with this other beautiful soul who has horses. Like, it's amazing.
Oh, no joke. I was trying to set up an event somewhere else. It had nothing to do with horses, and that fell through. And if anyone understands the universe, like if you get rerouted, if you're not supposed to be somewhere, it gets shut down, and the universe says, no, you go here. So that event fell through. They said they were going to do it, and then they wouldn't do it with me. And I was feeling pretty bummed out. And I literally posted it. I was at the farmer's market, and I posted it on Facebook. Within 2 minutes, this person saw that and reached out to me and said, why don't you work with me and we'll do the sound bath with horses? That's how quickly it came together.
I love that. That's amazing. Divinely orchestrated, as you and I both know, right? Yeah. And I'm not, in an area where there's horses right now, but as a small child, I went to a camp and I'd never ridden on a horse before. I was super excited. Well, they gave me the horse that was the most advanced horse, who just got retired as a racehorse. Did not want a child on it. Its name was Lightning. But honestly, like the ride was not great because it didn't want me on it. But I just remember seeing so much wisdom in this animal, and my heart just like broke for it, that it had been put through this whole rigmarole as a racehorse. And I think at that point I thought, I just want to see all the horses running around being taken care of on ranches and not being harmed. Yeah,
you bring up a whole side topic that I could go off on, but I won't get too sidetracked. But I actually have no desire whatsoever to ride the horses. And in fact, there's someone I know up in Sedona that her and I are very much in alignment on this, and I'm hoping to do events with her up in Sedona. But her and I very much it had nothing to do with riding the horses. We just love simply being in the presence of them.
Yeah.
They have so much wisdom, and they're very powerful healers, and that just by itself is enough for me.
Yeah. And looking back on it, like, I didn't realize I was communicating with my cat and my dog when I was little. That came later. And then obviously I was communicating with this horse too, which is why I hesitated when they gave me this horse, because I could already tell this horse did not want to be there and did not want me. But anyway, we got through it. And I always, after that, I never rode again. I had no desire to ride a horse again because I just thought it felt wrong to me. It felt wrong. Yeah. I think, in the past, when the horses were used for transportation, I feel like they did have a soul agreement at that time to help humanity, because that was just the time. But then at some point in time, it's like, everybody moved on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, as Bob Dylan once said, times are a changing. So
that's right.
And again, that's why I really appreciate and respect what the animal communicators such as yourself. And some of them will put out regular messages on social media from horses and other animals about what their roles are in this timeline. And I think that's important to get the message out there. Horses have so much more to offer than just putting them through drills, and those times are past us, I think.
I agree. I feel I knew, like, on this journey that the animal kingdom, as soon as we hit a point like we will maybe be put through a test or initiation about how we treat animals, because our heart has to have compassion that they have souls too, and that they also, like you just brought up a good point, that they also have like a mission. They all have their own little individual missions. So I do, like, I have and continue to assist, regular clients, like with their cats and their dogs. But yeah, it's a full, like, it's for me, if someone comes to me and I can get them all revved up to go and study and be an animal communicator, like, I feel like that, like the sound healing, I feel like there's going to be more need for many animal communicators and all, many sound healers, which is amazing.
Totally agree that the animals have missions, and I'm being guided. Also mentioned that soul contracts are not just between humans. That we also have soul contracts between humans and animals. In fact, I've got soul contracts with all three of my cats. They are literally they signed up to be with me, knowing that I was going to spiritually awaken, and they have very important roles that they do.
I love that. I often ask my cat, every once in a while, I'll say, "Do you feel bad because I took you away from your brother?" And he'll just say to me, "No, Mama, my mission is with you." Right. So,
Oh, no.
before we move on, I have to ask you, have you heard them verbalize a human word yet?
Wow. This is another thing I don't want to get too sidetracked on. This is definitely the channel where nothing's going to be too woo-woo to talk about.
No.
I have noticed that my cats are extremely intelligent, and they have started to. In fact, I have one cat named Abby that she literally has learned to say "I am."
Yes.
And it is, and I joke about it, and I'll say things to her like, did you have I'll say things to her, and she'll literally respond back to me, I am. And I'm telling you, she knows exactly what I'm saying, and she knows what she's saying.
Yes.
And I always joke, she's the smartest one in the house by far. So it goes to figure that she would start to figure out how to speak English.
Well, the reason I asked you that is because they're like, occasionally my relaxation sometimes is just watching reels on Instagram and Facebook, and quite often they're around cats. So there are people have recorded their cats saying, like, one cat said its owner's name. And anyway, my cat, same, like, even though I'm home, he'll come in and make a big to-do about where am I. So anyway, I haven't got it recorded yet, but he did say, one day he said, Mom. And I was going, okay, yeah. So that's where we're at now. So that, I think that that's going to be part of it, Scott. I think that as we're evolving, the cats, and especially the cats, they're going to be like, okay, the jig is up. If I need to speak English to get, I will say it.
And I'm also laughing because my cat Freddie, who when he's not healing, his favorite pastime is eating. And I'll just sort of play around with him in the morning and say, do you want to eat now? I know what the answer is, and he'll go, yeah. So it's just like they amaze me with how intelligent they are.
Yeah. We can, everything's woo-woo on this channel, so we can talk about whatever. Just to wrap that up, sometimes what'll happen, I'll set the intention to go on a mission when I'm sleeping, to have a meeting with my team of light, and to get, sometimes if I'm super busy, I'll say, can I come have a meeting with you all? So I know when I wake up in the morning what you want me to share. My time is tight, but what I want to share with you is sometimes my cat Sapphire is on mission with me. I'll be in a group and I'll look down and he'll be beside me in his cat suit. So he comes on missions with me as well.
Right. Well, again, I think most people are familiar with the Lyran beings. They are the cat-like galactic beings, right? So
yeah.
I was once getting a healing session done, and he sort of paused and he's like, okay, whoa, like I don't know if anyone's ever told you this. You literally have a cat's tail like connected to your aura. I have an energetic cat's tail that is attached to my aura. So
I love it. I love it.
I needless to say, I definitely have connections to the Lyrans, and so I'm sure that my cats do as well. So there's that.
Yeah. Absolutely. I asked my cat the other day, where are you from? Because at first I was told he was from Andromeda, and he said he goes Andromeda and Lyra. So do you say Lyran or Lyran? What's the correct pronunciation?
That's funny. I always have friends ask me that. I think it's tomato, tomato. I say Lyran, but it's whatever your preference is.
I wasn't sure. I've been saying Lyran the whole time, and I thought, oh, I've been pronouncing it wrong. That's fine.
I don't
Cool.
think this is right or wrong.
Why don't we move into the solar flares and the solar like that, because this is huge. So when I reached out to Scott and he agreed to connect with me, so I knew it was supposed to happen, right? Like everything just unfolded quickly. And thank you for being so accommodating. I appreciate that. So I had no idea that we were not only going to get one XCLASS solar flare, but multiple ones, and we're still in it. So we're recording this today. It's May 15th, 2024, everyone. And we just had an X 8.7 solar flare. But why don't we, before we get into what's happening right now, why don't you share a little bit about when you started to pay attention to solar activity?
Yeah, I was thinking about that a lot this week because I knew we were going to do this show, and again, laughing once again. I think it's one of those things where back in 2017, I started to become aware that this planet was shifting into a higher frequency, and that was pretty overwhelming at first to sort of grasp. Just like a lot of people, I was trying to figure it out logically, which you can't really do. But right around that time that I became aware of that, I just started intuitively started following solar activity. I started becoming aware of solar flares, geomagnetic storms. I think I got the Space Weather Live app, put that on my phone. It was right around 2017, which, by the way, you just mentioned that large solar flare we had a couple days ago. That was the biggest one since 2017.
Yes. I just
I'm
pulled that up today. You're right.
Yeah, I was laughing about that. I probably was aware of that one in 2017. I bet that got my attention. But my higher self, I'm sure, was guiding me. And I was just getting this claircognizant feeling that I needed to follow the solar activity. And it was interesting. I started posting it on Facebook, and let me tell you, I was either getting no interaction, or I was intuitively feeling like from afar, because I am an empath, like a lot of us are, that people were sort of like looking at this like, why are you even bothering like posting this? What does this have to do with anything? And it was tough sledding, because I was posting this information about solar flares, and no one cared, no one was liking, no one was commenting, but I just kept doing it.
Cool.
And one thing led to another, and these I was getting the guidance that just keep doing this, because this activity is going to ramp up, and it's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And I kept with it, and here we are today. We have some very well-known astrologers, like I'm sure a lot of people know Alex Miles. Man, I'm so happy to see Alex. She includes solar activity as a regular part of her astrological updates. Thank you, Alex. I know I really appreciate astrology getting this information out there. And now it's just commonplace. Solar flares, it's all over the place.
Right? So I've resonated with her work from the beginning. I actually have her thumbnail from today pulled up, and I've been sharing her information from the beginning. So I have to share with you, I do remember 2017 being a really intense year. Like, I knew about the Schumann resonance, but I didn't know yet about the solar activity. And also that was the year that I was guided. Scott and I were just sharing about, different words that we use, light worker, starseed, all different words that we use to find each other. But I was guided that year at the 7/7 portal that summer to start talking about starseeds and to share my experiences that the Pleiadians had come back into work with me. So I don't remember when Alex started posting, but I resonated with her work right away, and I'm always sharing her work. And she was on hiatus there for a while, but she's back full force, and I'm so glad. So glad. So Scott, apparently, I'll read a little bit about what she posted in the last 24 hours. But the 8.2 X 8.2 solar flare was September 10th, 2017, and that would have been a day after the 9/9 portal. And I just remember how intense that year was, and there was an eclipse over North America, August 21st, 2017, and I literally moved house that day. Like there was suddenly a drama unfolded where I was with the roommate, and my higher self said, after the eclipse, you need to pack up your car and go. So it was just intense from then on. Like, so it's no wonder I didn't know about the eclipse. But do you remember anything from around that time, around September 10th?
Yeah, I definitely remember the eclipse. That was a big deal. And I just remember that 2017 in general is when I had, by that point, I was a part of the 2013 initial group, a lot of people where they had their initial awakening. But by 2017, I had done enough healing work where I started becoming what you would call an empath. So I was starting to feel other people's energy. I was starting to definitely feel the astrological alignments, and I was starting to feel these solar flares. And that's why I really started being committed. I'm a Capricorn, right? So once I start doing something, I'm locked in, right? And I became very committed to reporting on the Schumann resonance and the solar activity. And I want to get into this a little bit. I started feeling it, right? And once you feel it, you're a believer. And what I really trying to get across here lately to folks is don't just sort of look at these charts, space weather live and the Schumann resonance. Don't just take that, really practice on what are you feeling? Because when I post the solar information, I am starting to get into practice now of telling people how I feel. Okay, I have a headache. My upper chakras are buzzing. My ears are ringing. I'm a little bit dizzy, because that's what people connect to. And I'll just gonna say this right now. I know there are people that view my content that don't leave comments, they don't like, but they're viewing it kind of from afar because they're curious. And I know that if I tell them how I'm feeling, and they're also having insomnia and they're dizzy, they're gonna start to take it more seriously, and they're gonna start to really start to believe it, quite frankly.
Yeah, I think the majority of my lives that I did initially, especially on Facebook, were not just about the work that I was doing or how I was helping people, but a lot of it was ascension symptoms. I've talked about ascension symptoms from the beginning, and it's connected. Yeah, right. So from your perspective, and then we'll get into what's happening right now. From your perspective, how would you connect the solar activity and our ascension symptoms and the Schumann resonance? Because you've been tracking it all. So when you look at I know you go by your feeling as well, but how do you feel like when it first started for you, what were your symptoms and how did you feel in the beginning? If you can remember, because I know it was a while ago. I know.
It's just gotten more intense year after year. 2017 is when I just started to sort of become aware, and I was starting to feel these energies, and it's just gotten more intense. And and I was getting guidance from my spiritual team that this is just going to continue to ramp up more and more and more and more and more. To the point where here we are now, and and the phrase that I throw out there a lot is wired and tired. And basically what that means is you've got the insomnia and you can't sleep, but good luck taking a nap, because it feels like every single cell in your body is just vibrating at maximum capacity. So that's part of ascension, right? We are shifting into a higher frequency, and our entire body starts to vibrate. And so and you're in a lot of this density that you're consciously or unconsciously, you may or may not know you have it, starting to come to the surface. So you start to feel very, very exhausted, but you're wired at the same time, because every single cell is just vibrating. And it's just gotten more and more intense since 2017. And I'm noticing that I have some people that I'm friends with that and this is, I'm no better than anyone else, but they're sort of where they're now feeling they're at where I was in 2017. That's where they are now in 2024. So that's why when I present the information, I try to not present it in a way that's too overwhelming for them. I want them to be able to connect to it and sort of be able to relate to it.
Yeah, and I'm seeing that it's starting to become mainstream I'm following a lot of different people now, and I've been doing some more research, and what I'm noticing is even on the regular mainstream stations, they're starting to talk about the solar weather and the solar flares, which is super interesting to me.
Just this
So,
morning, just this morning, I had someone. I think this is someone who, um, she looks at all my content and probably half of it she's like, Scott has completely lost his mind. But I laugh, but she is very open minded. So she doesn't really she doesn't leave comments or react because she may not want people to see that she's reacting to my content. But this morning she sent me an article from WGN in Chicago reporting on that solar flare that was the biggest one since 2017. So it's folks like that are just now awakening. They're becoming aware of these solar storms, and they're starting to understand. Yeah, this is for real.
yeah, and I think in a way that's really good, because then the regular folks are going to go, oh, we're being impacted by things going on in space, so it is helping the awakening for all of us. Absolutely.
Yeah. And and I think we talked about this before we started recording, but we all have roles. So there are other people that I love and appreciate and respect that present the solar activity, and they get very, very much into the science, and they'll give you the sunspot numbers, and we're in solar cycle 25, and they'll give you all the science. That's very important. I lean very much into the spiritual side of it, and I will get into some of the science, but I also I present it in a different way, where I talk about this is what this means, and this is going to get more intense, and this is what we're feeling. And so that's sort of my role. I want everyone, no matter where you are on your awakening path, I want you to be able to connect with what I'm putting out there.
Yeah. So I think, and this is why I read other people's what they post as well, because everyone's got a different perspective. So I had no idea that the X8.2 solar flare was 2017, like we just shared, and now we just got bombarded with an 8.7. So I think even when Scott and I reached out last week, so I got hit with it. Some of us get hit with it earlier, before even it's announced that something's happened. So last Wednesday night, I went to sleep. I was woken up 2 hours later, Thursday morning. I did not get back to sleep. And I knew something was going on, but at like 2 a.m, who wants to go look up and see what the space weather's doing, right? But what I want to share with you is I never slept at all. So I actually rescheduled something that day, which I probably have done like 3 times in total. And I had no idea that it was going to be, look, here it is. It's Wednesday, still in progress. So like you, I knew at the beginning of the year, and I have been like prepping everyone on this channel. I've been prepping all of you. It is not just what I'm sharing, what I'm being given. It's going to keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And because we're at the, it's like we're at go time now. We're at the go time to release a lot of density really quickly and to get more of the collective, to the awaken point for sure. But my team said, like, I don't know about yours, but my team said, you just have to write it out now. Like, you just know, like we're in the midst of a big expansion for the collective and individually. And here we are a week later, we're still in it.
We're in it. I couldn't agree with you more that it's go time. So the science side of it, just so people know, we're in what's called solar cycle 25. And, the sun goes through cycles just like anything else, where it's more active at certain times. And so the scientists have been telling us that 2025 is going to be the peak year for solar activity. Well, guess what, folks? The solar activity is going way, way ahead of what these scientists have predicted. And I think the reason for that is this is all connected to ascension, and there is a spiritual side to this. Yes. Our friends in high places, this Pleiadians, the Lyrians, the Arcturians are very much involved with this process. And so don't get me wrong, love the scientists and all, but they're not really plugged into sort of that side of it. So I wouldn't sort of just kick back and say, oh, it's not really going to be serious till next year. No, we're in it. In fact, this morning today we've had 2 X flares. Now, one of them came from a sunspot that was crazy active. It produced a ton of X flares that is literally turning, and it's almost out of view now. And then we got another XCLASS solar flare on the complete opposite side of the sun that is turning towards us. What does that mean?
Exactly.
That means I wish I could tell everyone that we're going to get a break. I don't think we are, because now we've got another sunspot that is just about to turn towards us that just produced an X flare. In fact, I saw someone today that said we may get another huge geomagnetic storm next week. So this is not to sort of get anyone concerned. It's just to tell people that we're in it. It is go time, and make sure you're doing your healing work, staying hydrated, and listening to what your body and your guidance is telling you to do.
Yeah, and our sleep is going to be all over the map right now as well. It's like, get things done when you feel good. So I'll have to share with you, after like last Thursday, I was so dizzy. I probably haven't been that dizzy for a couple of years. So I literally just went back to bed and just laid there until everything stabilized, and I couldn't do much that day at all, and I accepted that. But I'm laughing now because here we are a week later and we're getting even stronger, like XCLASS flares.
Yeah.
So Scott, from your perspective, like, what do you, because I'm more, you've been studying it more than I have. I just accept that an X 8.7 class flare is huge. But how do you feel differently when there's an X class flare instead of an M class flare? Like, I don't know if you can share it from your perspective that might help everybody.
Yeah, so just to make it real simple, solar flares are basically, you get a sunspot that pops up on the sun, and it starts to become sort of unstable, and that can, that instability from that area of the sun can shoot off, energy from the sun towards Earth. And those are basically what we call solar flares. Now, there's going to be different classifications that people put out there that tell you how strong these solar flares are. So you may have heard a lot of talk this week about X-class solar flares. So those are the strongest ones, and we've had quite a number of M-class solar flares, from 2017 up through now, but now it's getting to the point now where they're going beyond M class and they're getting into X class, and that's where you get a tremendous amount of energy directed from the sun towards the magnetosphere that surrounds Earth. And this won't surprise you because I am a sound healer, so I view everything in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. I just look at these solar flares and solar storms as literally worldwide sound baths, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But literally everything is energy and frequencies. So it's these solar flares that end up being shot towards Earth. All they are is just extremely high frequencies, not unlike what you get in a sound bath. This is why I decided to make my sound baths very high frequencies, is to prepare people for the moment that we're literally in right now.
Yes, I agree.
And with these solar flares and solar storms, they're essentially worldwide sound baths. And I was sort of joking with people this week that you can feel them, but you can't hear them, which that's not entirely true. A lot of people, your ears will start ringing, so a lot of people actually can hear these solar storms. If your ears start ringing, if you just get in a quiet moment and eliminate all the noise, if you pause yourself, a lot of people can hear these solar storms. Basically, if your ears start ringing, then you're picking up those high frequencies that are coming in.
And this is no coincidence. And you may have come across other individuals, if not yourself. I and a few of my clients have had either a clogged left or right ear since January. Mine's cleared up now, but it took a couple of months, and it's almost and I was feeling that it was connected to the upgrades and that just to be prepared for the higher frequencies. So I have been hearing more ear ringing the last couple of days. What about you?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I that huge X-class solar flare came in a couple of days ago, I mean, my ears were going nuts. But you know,
Yeah.
I am clairaudient. That is
Yeah.
one of my gifts. That I hear I hear all sorts of interesting things. But along with that, that's another show.
Yeah.
Along with that, I can pick up these solar flares and solar activity, no problem. My ears will start ringing, and it's like. And by the way, you had mentioned this. Sometimes you feel these solar storms before they're actually announced on the apps and things like that. And I really want to get that across again. Don't just be dependent on what you see in the Schumann resonance and these apps. Really start to be more in tune with what are you feeling and what are you hearing, because a lot of us can pick up on this activity before it's being announced. Online.
Well, the announcements are confirmation and or information for the newbies that are really going, oh, there's solar weather now, right? I'd have to say, like, I'm kind of in a bowl of mountains, and for years, I couldn't be here because the energy was so intense, I didn't understand it. But to me, it's like a huge, I've been using this analogy of like a surfing wave. So to me, the wave was like 5 feet and now it's 50 feet. So it's like this wave of energy comes crashing down on the earth. And sometimes we can't sleep, you know? So I too have shared exactly what you shared, Scott, that it's going to keep accelerating and crescendoing and getting louder and louder. For sure. Yeah.
So if anyone's familiar with like an oscillating sine wave, right? The peaks and valleys of that. That's actually how I hear the solar energy. I literally hear an oscillating wave.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And I bet you your sound baths are going to start evolving around this as well, which is super cool. I think that I can see that happening too. Yeah.
In the category of nothing's too woo-woo for your channel, literally right before I started doing public sound baths, I had in one of my sessions that I was doing with my mentor, Archangel Ariel, if anyone is familiar with her.
Yeah.
She came through to me. So she specifically requested that I structure my sound baths around crystal bowls, crystal pyramids, and structure my sound baths so they were very, very high frequency so that I would get people ready for the times that we're in right now.
Amazing. I love that, Scott. Well, I'm so glad that you followed your intuition and your guidance and your angelic teams for sure. Okay, so I thought what we would do, unless there's anything you want to add, I thought we would move into talking about UFOs a little bit. Yeah. So, okay. So what I was sharing with Scott earlier, I feel like as light workers and starseeds, we all, not besides the work, like we're either on mission, Scott and I are on mission, but some of you are just waking up and trying to figure out what your role is here. But many of us have been prepared for our galactic brothers and sisters, the benevolent ones that are assisting us, various ways. So I was just, and you all know if you're on my channel, but I was just sharing with Scott, like I just came out of the closet and shared my UFO experience that I had like in 1984 before the internet. Nobody had cell phones with cameras back then. So a lot of people went through experiences really early on that got buried. And that was it for me. And I realized after that, then like my activation at the pyramids was like 10 years later. So that was, I can see that everything was really well orchestrated after that experience. That was an activation. But before that, I loved Star Trek. Like I was already drawn to spaceships, traveling in space, sci-fi, and all of that. So what about you, Scott? Like what's your take on all of that?
Yeah, well, growing up, I mean, I was so obsessed with Star Wars. I literally begged my family to. I'm not exaggerating. I had every figurine. I had the Millennium Falcon. I had everything you could buy that was Star Wars. And it's so funny now looking back. You know, I knew that I was gonna going to have to be Luke Skywalker decades later when I woke up. But I was so obsessed with Star Wars, and there's so many. If you go back now and you rewatch those, especially the original 3 Star Wars movies, there's so many little you know, things you can find in those movies that resonate now.
I agree. I actually just rewatched them because I feel like the original 3 had so many downloads for all of us. And I get so excited when the Millennium Falcon is flying. Like, I swear, like, that ship was absolutely designed for all of us to wake us up, because I still, even in the later movies, I just get excited about seeing the Falcon flying more. So yeah, just to help us remember, right? To help us remember.
I think, yeah, I think those movies are filled with activations, and just how they talk about the Force, this invisible energy, right? You know, that's there that you can access. I mean, come on, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, because that's Reiki, that's quantum healing, that's our life force. So at the time when I saw those movies, like, it was going in. I think my mouth was hanging open the whole time I was at the theater watching the movies. Like, I was just like, wow. But I agree with you, and that's what I wanted to share with you. Like, I felt like I was sharing with Scott, and this will be the theme for all the people I have on my channel. There's a connection for all of us from either movies or little videos, or like, there's something, right? There's something that's there to help awaken us to get on a path of, like, just like, oh my gosh, I have to have everything connected to Star Wars or Star Trek or anything like that. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a sighting, a ship sighting. Oh, there goes one of your kitties.
Yeah, you know, I knew this was going to happen. This is Buddy, and anytime I get on camera, he feels left out. So
well, it's okay. I thought I heard a cat meowing, but I thought it was my cat. That's cool.
No.
Hi, Buddy. Hi, Buddy. No, so I knew with you when I asked you that, like, I thought, well, you might have had an experience you wanted to share, but I love the fact that you knew at a young age, like, this is my jam. These are my people. Star Wars, the Star Wars people. Where's the Falcon? Why can't I just get on it? Where's my lightsaber? Right? Yeah.
Totally. And then we were sort of chatting before we started recording that another thing I was obsessed with, and again, I'm 51, right? So I grew up in the 70s. People, if you're around that age, and you know, there were these shows on all the time about the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, the Bermuda Triangle, ghosts, all that stuff. And you know, my family, I wasn't one of these kids where my family was discouraging me and telling me this is a bunch of make-believe nonsense. They didn't, you know, they weren't doing any of that. So I was left to my own devices to watch these shows about Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster, and I would come to my own conclusions. And you know, and my mind was left open. And you know, that helped me decades later when I had my spiritual awakening at age 40. I had no blocks. I had no one that told me, you know, at age 5, the Loch Ness Monster is make-believe. You know, no one did that. So I was very, very open to all of that.
Well, I feel like the media back then was just open. Like, I feel like there was no one running around saying, don't show that, don't share that. So there was a lot more openness around them because they weren't too. And then I'm just, as you're sharing that, I'm like, our teams already knew that we were all going to be here incarnated. And they were channeling through the people that were creating the shows and the movies to bring forth information to help us for this time period too. So yeah, it's super cool. But that's what I thought. I felt like you were connected. I wasn't too sure to what, but to me, like, what I've been hearing recently is that the original Star Wars movies were based on the Orion Galactic Wars, and that the Jedi Order is real, and that it's also connected to Archangel Michael and the Legions of Light and the Angelics, and that's why it resonates with so many of us, because it's been something. It's a story. It's like someone sitting down and telling us a story that we already know, basically.
Yeah, I mean the whole theme, you know, in Star Wars of you know, the Jedis and the you know, the dark side and all of that, and you know, and look here we are, you know, I can tell you without getting into too much detail, a lot, you know, it was years before I had my actual spiritual awakening. I started experiencing that whole tug of war between light and dark.
Of
And
course,
because
yeah.
there were certain forces that didn't want to see me spiritually awaken. So, and then I actually got into my spiritual awakening later on. And, there's just, like you say, there's so many themes there in Star Wars, Star Trek, that and then it's another thing, there's a lot of things that sort of get presented in a lot of movies and TV shows that are presented as make-believe and fiction. And then other things are presented as truth. And I think what we've learned is this whole world is upside down, right? So the things that were presented as make-believe and fiction, there's really a lot of truth in that. And a lot of the things that are presented as the truth, really, that's just more of an illusion, right?
Yeah. And what else? Something just came to me about that. I think allowing us to have imagination, helping us remember, especially at a young age, about it was important to know about the light versus the dark. It was important to, we're living on a planet where there's duality, and we needed to have, if we didn't experience that at a young age, we needed to understand that it's not all rainbows and unicorns down here, and that we have to be prepared for all realities and all situations, which Scott and I both know about as well. So yeah, it's been quite an interesting ride, but I think we're getting into the good stuff for sure. Yeah. I was just gonna say, if there's anything else you wanted to wrap up with, or anything else you wanted to share before we go. It's been a pleasure having you on today.
Oh, it's been amazing. The only thing that I'm being guided to tell people is really just trust what you feel, and I'm trying to get people to sort of not be so reliant on following others, and following outside information, and just trust your what you're feeling internally, because we're really entering a period now where I won't get into it too much here, but when the solar activity started happening, there was a lot of sort of counter information that was being put out there, and I literally witnessed a few folks that have been on this path for a long time that first it seemed like they were doubting themselves, and they were sort of putting that out publicly, doubting what was behind this solar activity. And I feel like they started to they were not trusting their intuition. That's the word I'm looking for. I really want people to trust your intuition. Don't be so reliant on outside information and outside data and space weather. And this is all fun. The Schumann resonance, it's all fun. But really practice trusting your intuition. That is going to be crucial as we move forward.
That's exactly the key message that I shared earlier today as well. I think I agree with what you were sharing. I think there were a few people that were going down that path of what's true, what's not true. And so this is my perspective now. Anything that will get majority of the collective outside and looking at the skies and in their hearts and enjoying themselves, that's a positive thing. That's a good thing. That's a getting everybody together just to enjoy being together again. So I've only seen positivity. I saw people who have not hardly posted anything on Facebook for months. We're out there taking photos from 2, 3 in the morning and posting them, and I thought that was amazing. So I regardless about whether or not there's the dark forces are out there doing stuff, they're always doing stuff. So it doesn't matter, as long as how we get out of that, we band together and we go, I want to go outside and look at the stars, or maybe I'll go, I'm not feeling well, so I'll rest, and then I'll research the weather later and just make sure that I'm taking care of my physical body.
Yeah, I mean, some of these photos that have come out of these auroras and the beings that are making themselves shown through these auroras, it's phenomenal.
It's amazing.
I could look at these for the next 3 months straight. And I've gotten so much joy out of it personally,
Me too. I'll have to share with you. It could have been 2 years ago. I was guided to start going into Aurora Borealis groups and start looking at the photos. So I've even created some of my thumbnails out of them, and I just love them. To me, anything color is sound. Sound is color. It's all connected. So anything with massive amounts of color in the sky, I think is Most people just think that that's amazing. It's so beautiful. Yeah, it's so uplifting.
Agreed.
It's so healing. It's so healing. All right, my friend, on that note, I'm going to say thank you so very, very much. If any of you want to get in touch with Scott, you're in the Mesa, Tampa area. Again, his information is below. Please follow him on Instagram and Facebook. And you all know, if you want to get a hold of me, all the information is below for a deep dive in Akashic Records and quantum healing. Sending you all love and aloha. Thank you so, so much. And have a beautiful rest of your day. Take care.